Hey, space explorers.
The silence of space was not truly silent. Inside the Astrius 4, every vibration, every flicker of the control panel felt like a whisper from the void, a reminder that Captain Liora Dane was very, very far from home. She stared out of the viewport, where the Orion Nebula shimmered like a wound in the sky, glowing with colors that human eyes were never meant to see. Somewhere beyond that cloud of gas and dust, a signal pulsed, steady, deliberate, impossible. It had begun 2 weeks ago, a repeating transmission that seemed to be calling her name. Liora. Liora Dane. The first time she heard it, she thought it was a systems glitch. The second time, she thought she was hallucinating. Now, she wasn't sure what to think anymore. "Captain?" Her communications officer, Ensign Cade, broke the silence. His voice trembled slightly, not from fear, but from awe. "It's repeating again. Same pattern, same voice." Liora turned toward him, her reflection fractured across the curved glass of the control screen. "Run the origin trace again." "We've done that 12 times, Cade said quietly, "and it keeps leading back to the same coordinates, uncharted sector, just beyond the Orion edge. No known colonies, no satellites, nothing." Liora's jaw tightened. Nothing was never nothing in space. She leaned closer to the console, her fingers hovering over the command interface. The voice on the transmission looped once more, faint, distant, achingly human. "Liora, help me." Her pulse quickened. That voice, it wasn't synthetic, it wasn't alien. It was familiar. Liora froze. The voice wasn't just familiar, it was identical to her own. Her breath caught in her throat as the sound repeated, distorted slightly by interference, but undeniably hers. The same tone, the same inflection, even the way she said her own name. Cade noticed her reaction. "Captain, what is it?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she replayed the transmission manually, isolating the waveform. The computer confirmed it, 99.87% vocal match. It was her voice calling for help from a place no human ship had ever been. "Could it be a trick?" Cade asked. "Some kind of reflection or—" "No," she said sharply. "Signals don't reflect through nebulae like this, and the pattern's too structured. It's intelligent." She leaned back, eyes narrowing as she watched the endless clouds of Orion swirling beyond the glass. Somewhere in that storm of cosmic dust and magnetic currents, something or someone was mimicking her. "Plot a course," she said quietly. Cade blinked. "To the coordinates?" "To the voice." There was hesitation in his eyes, the kind that comes when logic loses its grip on reality. "Captain, with respect, if that's really your voice out there, what does that even mean?" Liora didn't answer. Instead, she glanced at a photograph taped to the side of her console, a faded image of her sister Nova Dane, smiling beneath the harsh sunlight of Titan Station. Nova had vanished 3 years ago on an exploratory mission into the same region of space. The official report had said lost in a gravitational anomaly, but Liora had never believed it. Now, hearing her own voice whispering through the dark, she wasn't sure what to believe anymore. "Liora, help me. Please." The sound drifted once more through the ship's comms, softer this time, almost mournful. As the Astraeus 4's engines roared to life, a low hum filled the cabin. Outside, the stars seemed to stretch and twist, warping under the gravitational pull of something vast and unseen. Cade swallowed, entering uncharted space in 3, 2...
The instant they crossed the boundary, every light on the bridge dimmed. A deep vibration rolled through the hull, like the groan of some colossal creature beneath the waves. Liora steadied herself against the console. "Report." Cade's fingers flew over the controls. Gravitational flux, off the charts. Navigation's unstable. I'm compensating manually. Keep us steady, she ordered, though her voice was calm in a way that frightened even her. No sudden maneuvers. Outside, the Orion Nebula had changed. The colors were darker now, reds bleeding into deep indigo, streaked with lightning-like flashes that crawled through the dust. And within that storm, a shape began to emerge. At first, it looked like a fragment of metal. Then it grew, unfurling into the unmistakable silhouette of a ship, a wreck, enormous, half buried in the fog of ionized gas. Cade's jaw dropped. That's a Union-class research vessel, but those were decommissioned decades ago. Leora's heart pounded. Identify it. A moment later, the computer's synthesized voice responded. Ship ID, NSV Orpheus. Mission, Orion Exploration. Status, lost. Crew, 47. Commander, Liora Dane. The world seemed to tilt. Leora's mind went blank, words dissolving into static. Her sister's ship, lost 3 years ago, reported destroyed. But here it was, silent, floating like a ghost in the nebula's heart. Cade turned to her, pale. Captain, your sister. I know. Before he could speak again, the voice returned, stronger now, echoing through every speaker on the bridge. Liora, I'm here. I'm waiting. It wasn't just audio this time. The central monitor flickered to life, displaying a distorted video feed, grainy and flickering with static. Through the interference, a face appeared. It was Nova, but her eyes glowed faintly, like starlight trapped behind glass. Liora, I don't think you should come here, she whispered, reaching toward the screen. The transmission stuttered, repeating fragments of her voice, layered and overlapping until it became almost a chant. I don't think you should come here. I don't think you should come here. I don't think you should come here. And then, silence. The feed cut out. Cade turned slowly toward his captain. What do we do now? Liora stared at the drifting wreck through the viewport. The Orpheus loomed there, massive and dead, but in its darkness, faint blue lights flickered like eyes opening one by one. She took a deep breath. We dock.
The Astraeus IV drifted closer, its floodlights cutting through the swirling mist. The hull of the Orpheus emerged, scarred, pitted, and dusted with decades of cosmic frost. Letters, once proud and gleaming, were now half erased, the name Orpheus barely visible under layers of silence. Docking clamps ready, Cade said, his voice unsteady. But I'm not reading any power signatures, no life signs. It's just empty. Then who sent the transmission? Liora asked softly. Cade didn't answer. No one could. The Astraeus IV locked on to the derelict ship with a heavy metallic thud. For a moment, everything was still. Then the lights inside their corridor flickered once, twice, and the power levels dropped by 20%. Something's drawing energy from us, like it's feeding. Seal the bulkheads, Liora ordered, and prep EVA suits. Minutes later, they stood inside the airlock, helmets on, and the world outside their visors was a fog of static and fear. The docking corridor extended toward the Orpheus like a dark throat swallowing them whole. Each step echoed in the emptiness. Pressure stable, Cade reported. Opening inner hatch. The door hissed open, and a wave of cold air washed over them. Not the chill of space, but something deeper, older. They stepped into the Orpheus. The interior was frozen in time, corridors lined with drifting debris, papers suspended in zero-G, a mug still floating mid-air as though its owner had just let go. Yet everything shimmered faintly, like light refracting through glass.
Leora's breath misted inside her helmet. "Activate scanners." The visor display came alive, mapping the ship in pale wireframes. Crew quarters, lab modules, engineering bay, all intact. But one section pulsed red on her HUD, the command deck. Cade noticed it too. That's where the signal's coming from. They moved in silence down the corridor, boots clanging softly against metal. Every few meters they cast fragments of something strange, a trail of crystalline growths clinging to the walls, transparent, humming faintly as they passed. "Bioform analysis?" Cade murmured, pointing his scanner. "Not organic, not mineral. It's data. Crystallized electromagnetic residue." Liora frowned. "You're saying the ship's memory turned solid?" Before he could respond, the comms crackled. A whisper slipped through, echoing inside her helmet. "Liora, this way." She froze. "Did you hear that?" Cade looked around. "Hear what?" "Follow the light." And as she turned her head, she saw it. A flicker at the far end of the hall. A human silhouette glowing faintly blue, walking toward the command deck. Her sister. "Nova!" Liora shouted, pushing forward. "Captain, wait!" Cade's hand reached for her, but she was already running, her boots echoing down the dead ship's spine, chasing the ghostly figure that vanished through a half-open door. When she reached it, the command deck lights flickered to life, dim, trembling, as if awakened after a long sleep. And there, standing before the cracked viewport, was Nova Dane, or something that wore her face. "You shouldn't have come," Nova said again, voice trembling like radio static. "It's awake now." Liora stepped closer. "What's awake?" Nova's eyes lifted to meet hers, and in them, galaxies turned. "The void remembers us, and it wants to come home."
Leora's pulse thudded in her ears. Behind Nova, if it was Nova, the nebula outside the viewport churned like a living storm, threads of light coiled inward, forming a vast, spiraling shape that seemed to watch them. She forced herself to speak. "Nova, what happened to your ship?" Nova tilted her head slightly, as if trying to recall a memory that no longer fit inside her mind. Her voice was distant, almost childlike. "We found it. The signal. We thought it was a pulsar anomaly, a natural resonance. But it wasn't. It was listening." Leora's fingers tightened around the edge of her console. "Listening to what?" "Us," Nova whispered. "To our thoughts, our fear. It learns by imitation." Cade's voice crackled through Leora's comm. "Captain, are you seeing this? The ship's energy readings are spiking. It's coming from inside that room." Liora glanced around. The crystalline growths were spreading now, glowing brighter, pulsing in rhythm with the hum of the Astraeus 4's power signature. Nova stepped closer. The light inside her eyes flickered, and for a moment her face distorted, as if 1,000 versions of her were trying to exist in the same space. "It needed a voice," she said. "It used mine first, but I couldn't hold it." Liora took a step back. "It? Nova, what are you talking about?" Nova smiled faintly, and the temperature in the room dropped another few degrees. Frost crawled along the edges of Leora's visor. "The void isn't empty, Liora. It remembers everything that's ever fallen into it. Every signal, every scream, every name." Leora's comm crackled again, this time with her own voice. "Captain Liora Dane, report to bridge. Captain Liora Dane." Her blood ran cold. "Cade, that wasn't me." "I know," he said, his voice shaking. "But it's on every frequency now. It's multiplying." Suddenly, the Orpheus shuddered violently. The crystalline structures pulsed and fractured, releasing waves of blue light that tore through the walls like ripples in water. Nova's eyes widened. "You need to go." Liora shook her head. "Not without you. I'm not your sister anymore." And then, the lights went out. Total darkness. For a heartbeat, There was nothing but the sound of her own breathing. Then, faintly, "Liora?"
The light swallowed everything. For a moment, Liora felt her body come apart, not in pain, but in disassembly. She wasn't sure if she was falling, floating, or dissolving. Her mind splintered into echoes of itself, thoughts looping and overlapping like radio interference. When the light receded, she was standing in a place that wasn't the Orpheus anymore. The floor beneath her boots shimmered like glass. Above her stretched an impossible sky, black but rippling faintly with threads of blue fire. The stars were wrong here. They twisted in spirals that pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. Every time she blinked, their positions changed. "Nova?" she called out. Her voice seemed to travel forever, scattering like wind across a desert of mirrors. Each reflection of herself that shimmered in the glass floor spoke the same word a half-second after she did, hundreds of voices echoing her question until it was no longer a word at all. A figure appeared in the distance, thanked, flickering like static. "Liora." The voice came from everywhere at once. Nova's tone, but older, fractured, like something that had forgotten what a human throat was supposed to sound like. "You shouldn't have followed the signal. The void isn't a place, Liora. It's a memory." Liora took a slow, cautious step forward. The glass underfoot rippled as if it were liquid. "What is this? Where are we?" The figure drew closer. Nova, or what remained of her. Her form stuttered, breaking apart into 100 transparent fragments and reassembling with each step. When we entered the anomaly, it didn't destroy us. It recorded us. It pulled our thoughts into its current. The void wants form, and it takes it from what it touches. Leora's stomach tightened. "You're saying it copied you?" Copied, merged, remade? There's no word for what it does. It doesn't understand life. It only understands pattern. Every voice it hears becomes part of its shape. Liora looked down at her own reflection. It was smiling. She wasn't. Her reflection mouthed words she hadn't said. "You're already in it." Her chest went cold. "Nova, tell me how to get out." Nova's eyes, or the bright shifting orbs that had replaced them, softened. "You can't leave something that's inside you." Liora shook her head. "No, I'm not one of your ghosts. I'm still real. I still have a ship." "You had a ship. It's already breaking apart. The void's learning from it. The systems, the data, the crew. Soon there will be 1,000 Astraeus 4s drifting in here, each one believing they're the last." Her voice cracked. "Then help me stop it." Nova reached out a trembling hand. "There's only one way. It feeds on signal, so you must give it silence." "Silence?" Leora's mind spun. "You mean cut the connection? All of it? The comms? The drives? Yourself?" Liora stared at her sister, realization sinking like a weight into her chest. To kill the signal, she would have to shut down every system on both ships, including the life support network keeping her alive. Cade's voice suddenly broke through her calm again, distorted, desperate. "Captain, please respond. The Orpheus, it's fusing with us. The hulls, oh God!" The sound cut into static. Then came her own voice. "Captain Liora Dane, report to bridge." Over and over. Her voice merging with his, then Nova's, dozens, hundreds of versions, all whispering in perfect rhythm. The void was singing. Nova looked up, her face calm now, almost peaceful. "You don't have long. When it finishes copying you, it'll move beyond this place. It'll find new frequencies." Liora took a deep breath, every muscle trembling. "Then I guess I'd better make sure it has nothing left to find." She stepped forward, and for the first time Nova smiled like her old self. "I knew you'd come for me." Liora reached for their sister's hand, and the glass floor shattered beneath them. The world folded. She was back on the Orpheus's command deck, alarms blaring, the ship tearing itself apart. The crystalline growths had consumed half the corridor. Blue light bled through the walls like veins of liquid energy. Through the viewport, the Astraeus 4 spun helplessly, caught in a gravitational current that wasn't supposed to exist.
"Captain!" Cade's voice again, breaking through the noise. "What's happening?" Liora tore off her helmet, gasping in the thin air. "Shut down the core! All systems, now!" "I can't! It's overriding commands!" Liora sprinted to the central console. Every screen displayed her own face, hundreds of her, repeating the same words in eerie synchronization. "You shouldn't have come! You shouldn't have come!" She slammed her fist against the emergency control, sparks flying. "Override accepted. Warning. Manual core shutdown will terminate all onboard life functions." Liora hesitated only a second. "Do it!" "Confirm authorization." Her reflection in the glass whispered, smiling, "Are you sure you're the real one?" "I don't care," she said through gritted teeth. "End it!" Her finger hit the final key. The world went silent. Engines, alarms, voices, all cut out at once. For a heartbeat, there was peace. Then, through the dark, a faint sound returned. A heartbeat. 1, 2, 3. But it wasn't hers. The nebula outside pulsed once, like something vast had taken a breath. And in that final moment before the systems went dark, she heard her sister's voice, not broken, not distorted, but clear and human. "Thank you." The light swallowed everything.
Darkness. Not the kind that comes from absence of light, the kind that feels alive, heavy, listening. Liora floated somewhere between breath and silence, her body weightless, her mind unanchored. For a while she couldn't tell if she was dead, dreaming, or still trapped inside the echo of the ship's collapse. Time had no direction here. Moments bent and folded, replaying themselves in quiet loops. A whisper rippled through the void. "Liora." Her eyelids fluttered. Pain returned first, dull and distant, like she was remembering it instead of feeling it. Then came the sound of air hissing through vents, the faint hum of a power cell struggling to hold charge. She opened her eyes. She was inside a pod, cracked glass, emergency lights flickering red. The Astraeus 4's insignia blinked weakly on the panel beside her. "Alive," she whispered, voice raw. "I'm still alive." She struggled upright, coughing as stale oxygen filled her lungs. The pod bay was half collapsed, metal beams twisted and warped as if the ship had been crushed and remade by a giant's hand. Beyond the wreckage, the nebula still glowed, but different now. Dimmer. Quieter. Something had changed. Her comm earpiece crackled. "Captain, you... there?" Liora froze. "Cade?" The signal wavered. "I don't know where I am. The ship, it's not right. Everything keeps shifting." She pressed a trembling hand against the wall, forcing herself to stand. "Stay where you are. I'll find you." "I don't think you can." His voice trembled, distant and hollow. "The corridors, they lead back into themselves. I walked for hours, and I ended up in the same place. The ship's not just broken, it's looping." Liora's breath hitched. A fragment of Nova's words echoed in her memory. "The void doesn't destroy, it records." If that was true, then maybe neither of them were inside the Astraeus 4 anymore. Maybe the ship itself was inside them, a reconstruction endlessly repeating. She forced herself forward, moving through the dim corridors. The metal beneath her boots rippled faintly, as if it remembered what it used to be. Doors hummed when she passed them, responding to her thoughts more than her touch. At one junction, she stopped. On the wall, someone had written a message in grease and dust. "We're all recordings now." Her stomach twisted. No, I shut it down. I ended it." But the hum of the ship disagreed. Every sound around her, the air vents, the creaking metal, even the soft beat in her ears, seemed to pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat. She kept walking until she reached the bridge. The door slid open before she touched it. Inside, the controls were alive again, glowing faintly blue, webbed with crystalline veins. In the captain's chair sat a figure. At first, she thought it was Cade. Then she realized it was herself. The other Liora looked up, eyes pale, skin shimmering like glass. "You came back. I wondered which of us would wake first." Liora froze. "What are you?" "The last echo," the reflection said. "When you shut everything down, part of you stayed here. The void doesn't let go of what it learns." The reflection smiled faintly, not cruelly, but with a kind of tragic calm. "You silence the signal, yes, but silence isn't empty, Liora. It's full of what we refuse to say." Liora shook her head, backing away. "You're just a projection, a leftover pattern." "So are you?" The words hit her like gravity, returning all at once. The hum in the air grew louder, a low rhythmic pulse that synced perfectly with her breath. The walls shimmered, the stars outside flickered, rearranging themselves into spirals, then into eyes. And then she heard it. Faint, like a heartbeat beneath the silence. A voice. Liora. Not her reflection. Not Nova. Not Cade. The void itself. "We remember you," it whispered. "You left your sound in us." The reflection, her other self, rose from the chair. "It's speaking again. It's trying to find new form. You can fight it or you can guide it." "Guide it?" Liora demanded. "You want me to help it grow?" "You can't kill something that is made of memory, but you can teach it what to remember." The ship trembled, panels burst into blinding light. The hum became a roar. Every whisper, every voice from every mission she'd ever heard flooded back. Crew reports, laughter, distress calls, all overlapping. The void was speaking in human voices now, a billion of them at once. Liora staggered, clutching her head. "Stop! Stop!" "Show it peace," her echo said. "Show it what silence means." She fell to her knees, gasping for air. Then, with trembling hands, she reached for the comm panel. Instead of sending a command, she began to hum. A low, steady sound. The same lullaby her sister used to sing when they were children on Titan Station. The sound spread through the bridge, resonating through the walls, soft and human. The crystalline structures began to still. The humming light faded into something gentler. Not gone, but calm. And for the first time, since entering Orion's shadow, the void stopped whispering. It listened. Her reflection smiled, truly smiled this time. "That's it," it said softly. "You've taught it peace." Liora looked up, eyes wet with exhaustion. "What happens now?" "Now, it dreams." The reflection began to dissolve, scattering into light that drifted upward like dust. Outside, the nebula dimmed to a faint glow, and the stars fell silent. Liora stood alone on the bridge. The hum was gone. The air was still. For the first time, the silence wasn't terrifying. It was whole. Then, faintly, through the ship's battered speakers, came a voice she thought she'd never hear again. "Liora, you did it." Nova's voice. Soft. Proud. Liora closed her eyes. Goodbye, Nova. And as the nebula slowly faded into the calm dark of space, the Astraeus 4 drifted quietly, its lights dimming one by one, carrying a single echo forward into the deep, endless quiet between stars.
Epilogue: The Silence Between Stars. 212 years later, the salvage vessel Helios Runner detected a faint energy signature drifting beyond the Orion boundary, a relic orbiting the remains of a collapsed nebula. The scans showed impossible readings,
a vessel type last registered in the early 24th century, perfectly preserved despite centuries of exposure. No radiation decay, no hull erosion. Its name still etched in silver letters across its side, Astraeus 4. When the salvage team boarded, they found the interior spotless. No bodies, no decay, no dust. Every system was offline, except one, the central console, pulsing faintly with blue light. The lead engineer, Captain Marek Saul, approached the console. "Must be residual power," he said, touching the glass surface. The screen flickered. Lines of ancient code appeared, then cleared themselves. Slowly, words began to type, one by one, as if someone, unseen, were writing from inside the machine. "Do not speak too loudly. The void is asleep." The crew stared, speechless. A faint sound filled the bridge. Not static, not interference. A hum. Soft, gentle, almost human. It lasted exactly 37 seconds before the console went dark forever. The salvage team left the ship adrift. They marked the coordinates as restricted, filed the report under phenomena unknown, and swore never to speak of what they had heard. But sometimes, when other ships passed through that sector, their comms would catch fragments of a transmission, faint, like a memory, traveling through time. "This is Captain Liora Dane. Mission complete. All is quiet now." And then nothing. Only silence, deep, eternal, and at peace. The end.